Hello everybody, how are you doing? Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Let's get into it. Today I'm doing rack pulls. Here I am at the CU Rec Center. Talk for a second about what a rack pull is as I warm up with the bar here. A rack pull is just a deadlift with a shortened range of motion to get the same health benefits, while you may not necessarily have the mobility in your hamstrings and many other areas to be able to deadlift with proper form. I was feeling tight because this was during finals, and I simply did not have, because I had been sitting so much, didn't have the mobility to get down to a full deadlift and pull hard. I'll actually cycle into this for periods of the year. I find that it makes my deadlift stronger, and I find that I feel better. Just, more variety. There I am stretching the inner part of my legs because I find that having that be buoyant allows me to have a buoyant arch, which I will talk about more throughout this video as we progress. Now I'm working my way up. The goal here is making sure to train the motion, making sure that the knees finish after the hips finish, or simultaneously, but certainly not before. At the same time, here I am in between sets. I'm relieving compression in between my spine. That's something you'll see me do in between pretty much every set. I'm also trying to strengthen my little low core a little bit. All of this is based on dynamic fluid core movement that will allow me to perform my explosive exercises more effectively, in a more balanced fashion, and really in a more beneficial manner. I won't be creating as many imbalances if I'm aiming to heal them in between sets. So I got a brace here, practicing my brace, practicing the form as I work my way up. Bang. It's an exhale, inhale, and then pull. Now I was doing a few reps there because that's what I'll be working with, and I'm just working my way up. Again, loosening my spine. Tim Ferriss does a lot of these. Elliot Holst is a great source to look at for anything about the deadlift. He really does go off. You should really check out his content if you watch any of my videos but haven't checked his out yet. A, he's my inspiration. B, he's been a mentor to me over the last 4 or 5 years of my life. And C, you'll simply learn a lot from him. Okay, the bracing was good there. Let me talk about the bracing for a minute as you watch this. It's important to line up the feet correctly, line up the knees such that they travel over the feet in a healthy manner, line up the hips such that they're neither too internally rotated, externally rotated, nor levied one way or another, line up the spine so that it is straight enough that it can brace for an impact and not have any extremely compressive points where the compression really meets. When you build a skyscraper, you want to build it straight so that it doesn't compress in any bad areas. The spine is similar. That's also why I'm doing a downward dog here. This is another way to relieve compression from the spine, while at the same time opening up the lower scapula, the whole shoulder girdle. Coming down here, I'm also creating strength through my low core because that is so important. And all of that was actually opposite to the movement of the rack pull. Now this is going to be my max set, and then I'll work down into a burnout. The buoyant arch is really important for the planting of the foot and maintaining the health of the ankle, which then in turn leads to the knee, hip, spine, shoulder girdle, neck, head, brain, neural connection between your entire body, all of it. It's all connected, it's all one thing, and it's important to do it all correctly. That's why, again, I highly recommend looking into Elliot Holst's videos. Here I am doing some Tai Chi to be able to orient the flow of energy through my body more effectively before I go for this peak performance. After I get my hips, I'm also going to get my ribs and then my neck, and then I go. 1, 2, 3. It's starting to get too heavy for me. Grip strength is definitely something that I've been needing to work on for a little while. So yeah, I lost it there. I'm going to try again, but not going to get it back, which is fine by me. And then you'll see I do one more time where I just move through the motion. The reason I do that, as you just saw, is to make sure that I'm training an effective motor engram pattern. Now here I am again, loosening my spine after doing what will be my maximal weight set, working my way up to there. This is a point where I'm right in between going for 365 or not. I decided to go back down and just go into my burnout and then go for it. Not the next time, but the time after. And I didn't hit it. So, still working. It's a constant game of progress. Some of the stretches you've seen me doing include hips, ankles, calves, and much more. Here I'm working my arms, mainly my shoulders, but also just the shoulder joint as a whole. And the reason is to create effective fluidity in the muscles surrounding my thoracic spine, both on the front side of my rib cage, the sides, and the back, as well as strengthening my core by having to balance the weight through this motion and making sure that I'm maintaining an effective head position, which you actually can't see as I move through these motions. I'm doing this prior to going into this burnout because I will follow it with multiple other working sets of other exercises. This is the point in my exercise where, after having done the explosive portion, I now want to get into more of a balancing, dynamic, muscle toning portion. Now you'll see here my right shoulder actually hangs a little bit lower than my left. That's me overcorrecting for my left shoulder imbalance. So take it with a grain of salt, correct what you can, but there will always be imbalance in exercise. We are organic beings, not cookie-cutter machines or skyscrapers, as I mentioned earlier. Here I am doing something that tones and pumps the entire rear muscular system of my body. Posterior chain is how Elliot Hulse has referred to it. There I am slapping the muscles that I have burned out before to provide them energy, wake them up, and really get them going. Bruce Lee does a lot of that. It's actually where I learned it. Enter the Dragon. Proper breathing. Learned that a little bit from Wim Hof, as well as from Elliot. The Tai Chi comes from Paul Chek and from Elliot Hulse. It's a great way, I have found, before sets to really prime my body to be able to go as hard as it will go, which I believe leads to the largest benefit. Now it's really important here to be squeezing the ass to make sure that the spine, mainly the coccyx, is not jutting out like a duck butt too much. You really want to make sure just have proper aligned form. That's why, again, I like doing... By the way, this set goes on for a while. I actually kind of go in on this one. But that's why I actually like doing the rack pull as opposed to the deadlift at certain times, is because I simply could not maintain a straight spine with the tension in my hammies that I have from sitting for so long when studying for finals. If I've been good about yoga for 2 weeks, that would be like 5 or 6 yoga classes in 2 weeks, then I can go for it, and I'll feel great, even going for a 1 rep max. But this is a great way to be able to go hard without necessarily compromising structural integrity. Very tired. That was difficult. I thought I was going to end at like 12 and went to 21. Brag. After that, we are going to move into some dynamic movements. Now, I'm going to hang one more time because that was clearly very intense. This is pretty much the longest rest interval. These haven't really been rest intervals, but this is the longest one I'll take. They're actually dynamic rest intervals where I move in such ways that promote balance, fluidity, athleticism, and structural integrity in between my working sets. Now, if you want to see this movement from a different angle, watch my warm-up video, so you can see how my knee travels in terms of the frontal plane, or actually that would be sagittal. Right now you're seeing how far it's going frontally from a sagittal view. Now the goal here is to create balance in the explosion of my muscles. Doing something like a rack pull or a deadlift or a squat and not then doing something like this after could lead to structural imbalances, such as an imbalance of the hips, an imbalance of the shoulders, an imbalance of the ankles or knees, favoring one foot over the other. I find that doing unilateral balance exercises after going so hard really helps me maintain a safe, healthy, buoyant, well-balanced athletic body, as opposed to one that ends up being riddled with muscular imbalances that I then have to spend a long time correcting. Now, this is a movement that I have, I guess, sort of coined my own movement. I just haven't seen anyone else do it, but it's chaturangas in a push-up. So I rep these out like I'm doing push-ups, but I use the full shoulder mobility of the chaturanga. So as you'll see here, come all the way up with the shoulder, come there, come push down, come through, and come all the way up again. Much more range of motion for the pec, shoulder, tricep, lats as well, and the middle spine and the scapula, and actually the core. Really your whole body. I love this movement, but this effective transition of movements allows to not have pattern overload. It's also really important how you plant your hands on the ground, which is something that you'll only learn from, not only, but a great way to learn is from extensive yoga experience and asking a teacher who really knows what they're talking about how you should plant your hands. The greatest cue I've heard is press every knuckle into the ground evenly. Seems to work. Going slow here at the end to create micro tears in the muscle that will then promote muscular growth, because that is one of my many goals. Definitely not the only one, but definitely one. Look good, feel good, play good. Look healthy, enjoy life. I don't know, self-esteem is really important to me, as it should be to everyone. I mean, you should feel good about yourself, right? That's half the point of exercising, is that you feel good internally and you feel good externally. And I think that it's unfair not to validate that portion of it. It's also not good to obsess over it and view it as the only one, in my own opinion, in my own life. Obviously, I don't know these things because I haven't lived a full life, but this is simply my own experience. Doing jump squats here in order to really, you know what, these just make me feel very athletic. I find that they make my legs better. They get my heart rate up, which is very important for longevity, which is something I'll touch on in my spin bike interval video, which I actually do right after this. So the full workout goes warm up, this video, then spin bike interval, then foam roll. And I'll be releasing all 4 of these videos. Now again, this is the pumping motion that really primes the entire posterior chain from the bottom of my foot, remember the buoyant arch, up through my calves and my knees and my thighs, especially the inner thighs, which is what I'm focusing on, again, buoyant arch, as well as the glutes, my lower spine, which I'm really trying to find length through and proper alignment to correct for any sort of imbalance that may have occurred during the rack pull, and of course that winged motion was good for my scapula as well. Here is another balance orienting movement. Again, balance the body. I also find that this balances my mind. I find that I focus much more effectively throughout the day when I have to have such intense focus on my body in a balanced movement. You know, someone could do curls or whatever, especially with 10 pounds like I'm doing here. You could do those standing on 2 feet, mind numbed, listening to whatever music it is all these people in the gym listen to. Or you could be present with your body, find alignment, and move in a way that adds value to you in a long-term manner. Macro life view, not micro. Now the final movement, which is again going to be these unilateral movements, I really do like the one-legged semi-squat, I guess is what I'll call it. I find that it just feels really good in terms of generating balance when I also pair it with effective stretching. So guys, you can see in this movement, the buoyant arch is just, I'll stress it one more time because I think it's the best thing to get from this video. My ankle there could easily roll inward and then I would be compromised from there up. Instead, I'm trying to pull up through the inside, really of my sock, that tip by the ankle joint that you can see, try and pull that up into the groin and through the top of the head. And there we go. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great day.